Welcome to Unit 2, Chapter 2, Lesson 1, Modeling and Understanding Percents. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to shade in the amount that's given to you above each of the grids. Then I want you to take a look and tell me what you notice about each of those grids. When you come back, we'll talk about what you found. Alright, so if you shade in 2/100ths, which that's what this decimal means because this is the hundredths place, you would shade in 2 out of 100. This fraction is also 2/100ths, which means that you shade in 2 out of 100. And 2%, if you remember what percent means per 100. So this means 2 per 100. So you would shade in 2. So what you should have found from this is that you actually shaded in the same amount for each of these. So what you should have found is that each of these numbers are equal. So even though they're written in different forms, each of them are equal. So 2/100ths, 2/100ths, and 2% are all the same thing. It's just a different way of writing each of the numbers. So it depends. If you want to show me that it's 2 out of 100 and use a fraction, you can do that. If you want to show me that it's 2 cents out of the 100 to make a dollar, you can use a decimal. And if you're looking at 2%, so if you're talking about a test score or something like that, you talk about your percentage out of 100. So what it means is if there were 100 problems, that percentage is how many you would have or did get correct. So to help us out, all percents are out of 100. So if you change them to a fraction, the denominator of all of those is going to be 100. And if you put them into a decimal, the place value that they're going to end in is the hundredths. Now I want to make sure that you understand that this is only for percents that are between 1 and 99 and those percents that do not have decimals. Percents can have decimals, and we're going to talk about those percents later on. Okay, but for now you need to understand that percent does mean the number per 100. So as a fraction it would have a denominator of 100 and it would end in the hundredths if it were a decimal. All right, so we're going to take a second and we're going to look at this grid and we're going to look at the fraction of the colored in portion and we'll see that there are 10 out of 100. Now we know that we can simplify this, divide them both by 10 and you can get 1 out of 10. And as a decimal, 10/100ths would be 10/100ths, so 0.10. And then as a percent, because it's 10 per the 100 that are there, this would be 10%. So it doesn't just have to be written as a fraction out of 100. If you can simplify it, it means the same thing. So 1/10 is the same thing as 10/100ths and is the same thing as 10%. I want you to take a minute and do the next 3 problems, and when you come back, we'll go over your answers. So here you should have gotten 25 over 100. And you can simplify to get 1/4. As a decimal, you would get 25/100ths. And as a percent, you would get 25%. As a fraction here, you would get 75 out of 100. And I picked these for a reason because I want you to see that 1/4 is the same thing as 25/100ths. We talked about this before. 1/4 out of the 4 that you need to make a dollar is 25 cents. So that's 25% of your full dollar. This would be 3/4. And as a decimal, it would be 75/100ths. As a percent, it would be 75%. And then here you have 50 out of 100, which is actually going to give you 1/2. As a decimal, it is written like this. And as a percent, it is 50%. So what I'm hoping you understand from all this is that all of these mean the same exact thing. Right, now what I want you to do is I want you to do this in reverse. I want you to shade in the percentage for each grid, and then when you come back, we'll check your answer. All right, so for this one, you should have colored in, and I'm just going to color it in by rows so we can go quickly. So there's 20, and then 8, so 28%, 28 out of the 100 that are there. This one is 78%, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Then now here you have 3 out of 10. Well, since this is an out of 10, you need to take this and make it 100. So you know that you can multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing. And here you can get 30 out of 100. So you can shade in 30. And then 80 hundredths, same thing. You shade in 80. Now hopefully your shading looks a little bit better than mine. I'm just trying to save us some time here. Alright, so here what we're going to do is, now that you understand what the percent means and that it's the same thing as this fraction, so this percentage is the same thing as this fraction and as this decimal, I want you to practice actually converting them. So 23 out of 100 is going to be 23%. But now here, this isn't a denominator of 100, so I have to make it a denominator of 100. Since it's a 25, I can do that. I can multiply them both by 4. So here I get 68 over 100, which gives me 68%. So we're only working with the nice fractions that allow us to get to 100. We will cross the other fractions later on. But for now, I want you to solve the rest of these. I want you to turn them all into percents. And then you're going to change each of these decimals to a percent. So you know that 45 hundredths, since as a fraction it means 45 out of 100, you know that this is 45%. A nice easy way to do this is to just move your decimal 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Now the decimal is back here, which means that this is 8%. Okay, so if you're struggling with this, I just want you to practice moving that decimal 2 places to the right, because that's what you're doing every single time, and changing it to a percent. Then here, I want you to change each percent to a decimal and to a fraction in simplest form. So 60% as a decimal, you know, is 60 hundredths, because you take the decimal that's here and you move it 2 places to the left. And then as a fraction, it's 60 hundredths, but I know I can divide them both by 20, and I can get 3/5 as my simplified fraction. I will do one more with you. So your decimal is here at the end of your number. To change it from, so you can write this down here. So percent, actually let's do decimal to percent. You move your decimal to the right, and then percent to a decimal, you move it to the left. This might help you. Or if you want to draw 2 of them, so decimal to percent, or percent to decimal. That'll help you remember which way to move your decimal. So since we're going from a percent to a decimal, I move it 2 places to the left, and it gives me 98 hundredths. As a fraction, it's 98 hundredths. I can divide both of these by 2. I get 50 here. 98 divided by 2, 2 goes into 9 4 times. Minus 8 is 1. 2 goes into 18 9 times. Right. So I'd like you to try the rest on your own, and when you come into class tomorrow, we will check your answers. As always, if you have any questions, please be sure to post them to Edmodo.